Week 30 is here, and this is going to be one very special week in the markets. I can guarantee you one thing, it's not going to be a quiet one, it's going to be volatile. Tons of quarter results are coming, even from McDonald's, Cola, Apple, etc. On Wednesday we will know what the Feds will do, how much will the interest rate go up in the United States. Thursday there will be GDP numbers. In other words, it will be an exciting week. And what about last week's trading tips? Well, one of them did very well. Tesla, of course. Tesla did just what it was supposed to do, going up, trying for that $880 target. What are the stocks that we're looking for this week? Well, I will let you know by the end of the podcast. As usual, we'll do the following. We will run quickly through the markets, look at some of the major stocks, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, along with Bitcoin and Dogecoin. And crypto been moving a little bit over the last few weeks. Does this mean that the new huge upturn is coming? I'll try to answer that as well. And at the very end of the podcast, of course, you will have the trading tips. But first, and as always, you have to listen to the disclaimer, and I will be back with a short market update.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the StockInvest.us weekly stock and crypto podcast. The podcast is hosted by StockInvest.us co-founder and Golden Star Signal inventor, Jim Stromberg, who has been actively trading since 1996. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit like and notification bell so you will be first to know when we post a new video. This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and other audio sources. Ensure you listen to the entire podcast so you don't miss out on some key tips needed for this week's strategy.
Welcome to StockInvest.us podcast. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information provided, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.
Last week became a good week, just as predicted. Nasdaq went up 3.34%, ending the week at 11,834 points. Even though Jones was up almost 2%, ending the week at 31,899 points. Now, Nasdaq is just below 12,000 and Dow Jones just below 32,000. What about this week? What will happen? Is the upturn over, or will it continue? If you're a new listener and you're listening at Spotify or some other audio, well, this podcast is also available on YouTube. At YouTube, you will see some charts and you will see some other indicators as the podcast progresses. And usually I do like this. I give you a little background about fundamental things that is going to happen during the week, and then look at the charts just to come to a conclusion. Will it be a red or a green week? How can you use this in your trading? Well, why would you invest heavily if you expect a red week? In most cases, I'm correct about the direction of the week. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was last week. I expected actually more like a 1-2% during the week. But as you know, Nasdaq went up 3%. That made for a lot of gains in certain stock, and Tesla was one of them. And as I told you 2 weeks ago, it was time to buy Tesla. And when we get to the trading tips, you will see that currently it's up all 14% so far, almost 15%. Anyway, what is it that we want to look out for this week? As I said in the introduction, there is a lot of things happening. And just a little teaser. When we get to the chart, you will see that there actually is a golden star in the chart for Nasdaq. Does this mean that there is a huge upturn coming for the next few weeks? I'll try to answer that shortly. But what is it that will happen this week? Well, on Wednesday, before Wednesday actually, during today and Tuesday, you will have a few things showing up. Nothing special, it's just some economic numbers. But on Wednesday, already starting on Tuesday, the Fed will start to discuss how much will they increase the interest rates, and they will release this information on Wednesday, I believe. The speculation says that they may go very hard, do 1%, while the consensus is around 75%. If they for some reason do 0.5% because they think they have inflation under control, well, that will be a good positive surprise for the market. But in general, I think this will be hurtful for the market, so Wednesday for sure will be an exciting day. And Thursday just follows up with the GDP numbers. The consensus is a growth of 0.5%, but I think it will be negative, showing that United States are heading for a recession just like the rest of Europe are. On Friday you will have PCE numbers, personal consumer expenditure numbers. That will give you an idea about how consumers are using their spendings. And mixed of all this, you will have a lot of quarter results. And as I warned you about in many of these podcasts many months ago, I started to warn you about quarter results, because now you will see they have to take inflation into their results. They have to give a pre-warning. Some of them already has noticed the effect of the inflation, but they have to give pre-warnings. And in addition to this, of course, the Russian sanctions. How does this affect the books? You will know, because I believe it will be tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. McDonald's will release their results. And McDonald's left Russia. And all the McDonald's restaurants were replaced by a Russian version of McDonald's. How good they are doing, I don't know. But McDonald's is out of Russia. How much will this affect the books? You will know on Tuesday, and I think it will be like we saw in Snap and others. Things are really starting to take a toll now. For Snap, it was, of course, the advertising and the users' behavior that caused a huge fall in Snap. But at McDonald's, I think that you will see they have to take into account the losses that they will have to occur in Russia. And the same thing goes from Coca-Cola, which also will be on Tuesday. In addition to this, you will have Microsoft and Google. And we know Snap was hurt by advertiser spendings. For sure, we will see this in Google. Everyone is expecting that Google will hurt, but how much will they hurt? And that will for sure affect the market to some degree. And there is more of the same stuff, because on Wednesday, for instance, Meta, or old Facebook, will release the results, and it's expected to be bad. Thursday there will be Apple, and Apple, with the size Apple is in the stock exchange, will for sure show direction, along with Amazon, and even Pfizer will come. So there is tons and tons of quarter results coming. It's the quarter season, and this will affect the market. My overall take on this is, as I told you in several podcasts, I expect quarter results now start to weaken, and these things, depending how many that are bad, they will put a huge toll on market. Hopefully I'm wrong, that there is some magic that I don't know about, that Google will post amazing results. The same thing with Microsoft and Facebook. Some insane growth in user or something, but there is absolutely nothing indicating any such. It is indicated a decline. The question is how big? We know that the market's already accounted for some decline, but if it's more than the market accounted for, it will be a heavy week. So in general, I would say, from the things that I just said, there are many things indicating that we will have a hard week. Things that really can shake the market very hard. And as I said also in the introduction, this will for sure not be a quiet week, simply because things, if they are better than expected, markets will react very positive. If it's negative, a little bit more than expected, markets will also react very, very hard in a negative way. Oil is down $5 from last week, trading around $94, and is held under somewhat pressure. But as we progress, we're already by the end of July. We are heading for winter season, and I think, as I said before, oil will just go up. And that was why I said Chevron, Borr Drilling, and oil companies are attractive at current levels, in my opinion. Gold made a $10 gain last week to $1,722. And again, I think that we will see a slight upward pressure on gold. But as I also told you, as interest rates go up, gold usually tend to go down. Has something to do where people place their money, where it's safe and secure. So as interest rates go up, you will get better paid in yield and bonds, etc. There is another factor to the gold. As I said, I think gold will go up to $2,500. And I think that the new upturn in gold will start maybe by end of September, early October. I'm not sure exactly when. But for those who pay attention, know that Russia and China now are securing more and more items upwards, not to the dollar, but to gold and earth minerals. And these things can shake the dollar very heavily and put a toll on gold. Depends how many of these BRIC countries that join this effort of moving away from the dollar. 10-year Treasury yield actually fell 0.15 last week and is at 2.78. But this will be the week where it again go up, in my opinion. We are heading for the charts. I will pull up the chart, come with a slight conclusion about what I think will happen if it will be a green or a red week. We have a few things to look at. Charts are one, but we can also look at the amount of buy and sell signals across all stocks. We analyze some 38,000 tickers. Some 26 of them is approved for qualified ranking. Based on this ranking, we give them an evaluation, hold, sell, or buy. And right now, 30% of all tickers that we analyze have a buy. That is starting to get high. I told you about this. When these numbers get high, you are doomed for a downturn. Last time we had a very huge downturn. This number was all the way up to 35, between 35 and 40, and was way overbought markets. Right now they are getting very high, but not over the top. There is still room for some more, but we for sure are getting close when 30% of all tickers are showing a buy signal. Nasdaq 25 up from last week, same with New York Stock Exchange 25, and again this is not very high. It's getting high but not very high. Remember Nasdaq, when Nasdaq collapsed, started to have buy signals. It was 42, if I remember, 42% of all tickers at Nasdaq gave buy signals, and I told you this is way too high, now we will have a collapse, and market just fell and has been falling since. And every time it gets very low, like for instance in week 25 when it was down at 9, I said now it's oversold. It's a typical period where things will go up, and we had a few good weeks lately. It was a classic thing. Is 25 the point where things will go south? I don't know. We'll have a look at the charts, but it's getting high, but not, I would say, not as high as a classic sell signal. London 15, London been struggling slow for months, but if you go to Asia, Tokyo and Shenzhen, there the buy signal has been very high, and I expect a hard fall in Tokyo, maybe starting already this week. Tokyo at 45, Shenzhen, China at 46 is way too high. Markets are overdone, I would say, heading for a decline. And it can be these things that start spiral that big downturn. But before we conclude with that, I also have to say that when things are getting high like they do now, sometimes they just start a stronger upturn. We see this in the relative strength index. When stocks are getting high on relative strength index, everyone thinks that it's overbought. suddenly it just gets into weeks and weeks of upturn. And as I said, there is a golden star right now in the Nasdaq chart, and let's have a look. And if you are a new listener, you can go to StockInvest.us. Maybe I forgot to mention my name is Jim Stromberg. I'm one of the co-founders of StockInvest.us. And if you go to our webpage, type in Exig, you will have the chart. And looking at the chart, there is a few things to see. I have mentioned so many times that I keep repeating myself, but what we wanted, because what we usually see is, in this case, Nasdaq is in a downward trend. It goes from the bottom of the trend that was back in week 25 when I said things were oversold. Since then, we had a upturn, just as expected. Now we hit the top of the trend, and the market is falling back. As I repeated several times, what we want to see now is for the market to fall of the middle of the trend and then bounce up, because then we can have a trend break. In this case, it means that Nasdaq reverting back to some 11,400 will just be natural, but if it goes up again, it will have a very fair chance to break the trend, and we can easily go back to 13,000 points, even 14,000, because then things will just get into a strong positive mood, and market will try to regain some of the huge losses. Those remember, Nasdaq was up at 16,000 points, hit the roof just as it should, and fell all the way back. In the chart, we can see also two other things. We can see there is a golden star and also a buy star from the relation between the short and the long-term moving average. Usually golden star turns out to be an amazing signal. It was developed by me in 2007, and it's a stronger version of the golden cross. I'm not sure if this will hold. We will just have to see. It's one of these things. Some signals turn out to be false, but right now it's active, and we will see. It was initiated at 11,400, and markets now gained. It was up just all about 12,000, like I explained in last week's podcast, that market could go just around 12,000 high before falling down. Buy signal, short-term moving average, long-term moving average, everything is indicating the following. We should head for a slight downturn, then a rebound. So I'm not sure what are we talking. Will the markets fall, for instance, today all the way till Wednesday, be surprised by a positive Fed judgment of only 0.5% and then turn up? Is that the thing that will happen, along with better GDP than expected? I don't know. All I say to you, it will be a very exciting week. Trying to conclude for the week, I will stick to the trend. The trend is downwards. The markets are at the top of the trend, heading for a natural downturn. I think it will be a red week. How deep can it be? I don't know. I've seen this before. You can just look at the chart in front of you. If you look back in May, markets hit the top of the trend, had a huge fall almost all the way to the bottom of the trend, more than 1,000 points, actually 1,500 points down. Almost the same back in June. Huge fall. When it first hits the top of the trend, it has a huge fall. It's a fair chance this will happen. There is tons of support just below today's level. But combined with a lot of things happening this week, we can have that huge red dreadful week. I have to give a qualified guess. As I said, I think it will be a red week, and I'm sorry to say, I think it will be a very bad red week. Best case scenario, we will pick up at 11,400 and then continue upwards. Worst case scenario, we will have, as I said, a complete meltdown where the markets may fall as low as 10,600. 100. Hopefully I'm very wrong. Hopefully we will just slide sideways, then move up, break the trend, and things will start to look very positive for the next, I would say, even upwards to 3 months. It will for sure be an exciting week. My tip is red week. We will look at some of the major stocks just to see how they look. Do they say the same thing as Nasdaq? And you will have my trading tips. Last week, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla all did a little bit better than I thought. I had an upwards target for them, and they all went up, but a little bit more than I expected. I had $147 for Apple. Apple moved up to $154. We will run quickly through the stocks. Just have a quick look at the charts. What do they say? Where will Apple most likely be by the end of the week? You can type in the ticker Apple and you will see. And I'll try to explain this for those just listening, not watching on YouTube. First and foremost, we will pull up the chart. And it's up, and what we see is just a reflection of Nasdaq. Nothing special in that. Apple is such huge, it's at the top of the trend. It's overbought on the relative strength index. Every time that happens, Apple fall. Everything in this chart indicates that Apple should fall. Question is how much. A good buy signals from the relation between the short and the long-term moving average. Find supports just below today's level later at 150, 145, 140 and 135. Last time Apple been this high on the relative strength index, currently 76. It was turning at 83 on Wednesday or Thursday last week. It was turning down. Usually has at least a $10 to $15 fall. For the week, I think that we will see Apple fall. It will try to bounce up from 150, later 145. But I think we might see Apple down to 140 and even lower. Best case scenario is that it goes up but faces resistance around 158. So it has to be a super quarter result that really takes the market on the bed, as it said, and then it can just go to 170. So if you bet for a good result, well, then you might be lucky. On the other hand, you can also be lucky. Unlucky. A few times I've shown you the earning reports, and we will quickly have a look at earning reports and see what does Apple usually do when there is quarter results. And looking at the last 3 times there have been quarter results, we can see that on the release day in quarter 3 2021, Apple fell on the quarter results and the following day, and then gained. Comparing to the day before, after 5 days, Apple was up. Looking at Q4 2021, we can see that Apple rose on the quarter results and then just continue upwards. And in Q1 2022, Apple again fell on the quarter results day, just to go up the following days. In all the cases I just mentioned, Apple was better off 5 days after the quarter result. So even falling on the quarter result day itself, it went up 5 to 6 days later, higher than just before the day. So judging by this, if the history repeats itself, well, most likely Apple after quarter results will go up. All of these things, of course, can change. It can be the time where Apple actually falls. I'm just referring to what's the typical thing for Apple. And if you look further down the earning reports page, you can also see how much it average changes in this 10 days period before and after. You can even see on the release day on Q3 2021, it fell 2% on the release day. on Q4 2021, it went up 7% on the release day, and of course, first quarter this year it fell 3.66% on the release day. So what does this mean? Well, if you're trading options, maybe think twice. Is this the day that you want to be fully invested into options? Or do you have a good hunch? Because if your hunch is right, you should make quite good money. But if you're wrong, this is the place where you can lose money. That is why you pay attention to quarter results, because it's these days where you often see changes in the stocks. Microsoft, and Microsoft usually just reflects Apple to some degree, and looking at the chart, we see the same thing. Microsoft is in the top of the trend, going down. It was high on relative strength index, not as high as Apple, not overbought, but high and is falling. Some support below today level at 255, later at 245, and I think that this is exactly what will happen. Microsoft actually have a sell signals from the relation between the short and the long-term moving average, and what I was about to say about happening, I think Microsoft, like Apple, will fall. The question is how much. I see the possibility to fall all the way to 245, bounce a little bit up, and the week somewhere around, let's say, $250. And I think I forgot to give you a target for Apple, so let's quickly just go back to Apple, have a quick look, and set a price target. I think by the end of the week, I think that we will see Apple somewhere around $142. Last week was 147, I go down to 142, so I'm down $5 from my bet last week. Or by ending price of Friday, I'm guessing that Apple will fall $12. Then it is Tesla. And I bring Tesla because Tesla is very, very hard to predict. It's an extremely volatile stock. And I have told you that given what we see in the chart, Tesla can go all the way up to 880. I told you I would put a personal bet on it, and I did. Everything in the Tesla chart is good if we look more than the week ahead of us. As I tried to explain to you, Tesla was moving in a rectangle formation, and if it was broken up, that would see going above 750, you should see a reaction upwards to maybe 870. If it fell below 630, you should see some fall to 510. It broke up, went up to 830-ish high, I think. And maybe even 40ish, and then fell a little bit. Right now it is way overbought. Usually that means that you should see a fall in Tesla. Volume is not following the stock. Everything here indicates that Tesla might fall back to 750 before it bounces up, but in general there is reason to be somewhat positive, because with the strong support at 750 there is ground for further upturn. It's just a short natural reaction down. Doesn't have to be very deep. It can, of course, if the markets go really bad, be stronger, because if it goes below 700 you should see Tesla start to fall much faster, and can even fall all the way to 560 very quickly. It's the name of the game, playing the Tesla stock. For the week as such, I think Tesla will at the very best be up at the target, which I had at 870. Lows, I think, in my opinion, should be 710, moving somewhere between these levels, up and down. I will not be surprised if Tesla managed to end the week higher than it is today, but I will have a slight bet on 760 for Tesla, meaning that Tesla would fall from today's price down to 760. And we will see there is a buy signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average, and the relation between the averages. We have Bitcoin, Dogecoin left, and then I will give you the trading tips. And I said Bitcoin had a target for 24,000 for Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up to 24,000 and is now at the top of the trend, just like we saw in all the three other stocks previously. The one thing I like about it is that volume is falling along with the crypto. It's a good sign. Buy signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average, even the relation from these two averages, and there are signs that this might be the bottom for Bitcoin, that we finally are up. Everything in the chart indicates that it will trade between 20 and 20, let's say 27,000 for quite some time, because there is so much resistance from 28 that even on the very best day, if it gets up, there will be tons of sell pushing Bitcoin down again. But there are things indicating that we might be at the bottom, and that's the big thing. If we are at the bottom, we know that over the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, we might look back and be happy if we got in at the right point. I have taken a few bets into crypto again. If I'm wrong, well, then I will average down a little more. If it falls, some say that it will fall to 10,000. It's very high likelihood, because every time Bitcoin been at this level over the last 3 months, when it was at 30,000, it fell to when it was at 40,000, it fell to 30,000. When it was at 30,000, it fell to 20,000, and now again testing the same thing. But we will know shortly if it will hold. My bet for the week is that things will hold. I like the volume information. I think that it will be 20 low, then pushing up. I will not be surprised if we see Bitcoin at $26,000 by the end of the week. But if markets go very, very wrong, don't be surprised if Bitcoin does the same, take a huge fall. As I told you, this is a week which will be very, very exciting. A lot of things will be determined this week. We can head for 3 amazing, beautiful months in the stock markets, or we can head for much more pain. Quickly do Dogecoin, and then we will do the trading tips. We're getting to the end of the podcast. Nothing much to say about Dogecoin. It's in a falling trend, moving slightly sideways just like Bitcoin, and it's a fair chance that it will hold. If it doesn't hold, it can fall down to 4 cents, 2 cents. That's the name of the Dogecoin game. You shouldn't buy unless you're willing to risk it all, because this is shitcoin, along with so many other shitcoins. They live their own life, and it needs that market boost to really come. But very exciting to see so many golden crosses in all these charts, because that usually is a good sign, but sometimes you can be fooled. The thing that can break this technical picture is, and I will repeat that for the last time, all the news that will come this week, they will affect the market. So embrace yourself. We are getting to the trading tips. The trading tips will last maybe 5 minutes. And you will know what happened last week with the trading tips. What are the stocks I aim to trade this week? So stay tuned. 5 more minutes and we will be done with this week's podcast. The final section, the trading tips, is up. So what were the trading tips last week? Well, as I told you, America was open. Tesla was open from week 29, and last week I wanted to go into oil because I thought oil would hold fairly good, and that oil are at somewhat bottom, having the opportunity for stronger gains and be a little bit more solid if markets take a dive. So America and Tesla were the risky stocks. If markets went as I thought that it would go up last week, I knew one or both will do good. So America didn't do anything special, ending the week at 25 cents, is up 12% since we bought it. But Tesla had a very good week. Tesla was bought in week 29 at 705, and as I said, I think it might go up to 880, and I wanted to do at least 5 to 10% in Tesla. During the week last week, Tesla just continued upwards. It was close a few times to be stopped, to be cut by trading stop loss. I run something called trailing stop loss, which means that the stop loss just following the stock up, never down. And with a 5% trailing stop loss, I was so close. especially as Tesla was up, but I think it was almost 840ish, 837, 40ish, and then started to fall. But it wasn't, so Tesla is still in my portfolio. Ending Friday at 816, up 15.74%. I think I said to you 14%, but it's actually up almost 16%, 15.74%. And no matter what happens, I will make 11% or more in Tesla, simply because I have a trailing stop loss. Is Tesla a stock to buy now? You just heard me give an analysis of Tesla. I don't think so. Don't buy it yet. If it falls a little down, get a better position, yes, but it's not a trading tips for the week. What about the two new stocks, Borr Drilling and Chevron? I got Borr Drilling at 285. It started to go up just like it should. It went up to 297 or just above $3 something. Then fell back, was cut by stop loss, giving me 2.46%. Chevron I got at 139.30, and Chevron just pushed up, very slow but still up, and hasn't been cut by stop loss, is currently at $144.19, up 3.53%. So 15% in Tesla, 2.46% in Borr Drilling, 3.51% in Chevron. Made for a good week, more than the market as such. So very happy about the week. What about this week? Well, I have 3 trades open. Sumerica, Tesla and Chevron are still open. And you heard me say that I think it might be a very, very bad week. Saying so, I will do the following. I will not buy any shares this week. I will not advise you to buy any shares. If anything, I would go for oil, but there will be no trading tips for me this week. Markets may go both ways, and for the next 2 weeks will be the first time that I will not release a podcast on every Monday, because I will be going on holidays. So there will be no podcast next week. There will not be a podcast the following week after it. I will just be back in 3 weeks. After 127 podcasts, I believe, it's time for a slight break. Since I cannot follow up next Monday, believing markets will be red, I, as I said, will not give you any trading tips for the week. Any specific stocks to trade for the week? My best advice is look into oil stocks. It might be that they just will do very good. There is another thing by oil stocks, not only the price. You have to remember that with the super high oil prices, $95, these companies are making insane amount of money, which means that they will pay very nice dividends. And if we get into that scary scenario where markets take a huge fall, because I don't know, maybe you know, but I don't know what this week will hold of news. I just know there will be news, they will be affecting the market one way or the other. I think oil stocks may hold very good if it turns very bad. So it's a risk-reward thing, where I see one of the best risk rewards right now. It's not super duper, but having a huge fall. I think oil may not fall as hard. Tech stock can just fall insane much. Pharmacy stocks the same. While I think oil can hold and even, giving the right situation, grow a little bit. And that is the end of this podcast. I look forward for 2 weeks of break. I hope that doesn't mean that you will leave me, but stay tuned, because I will be back after 3 weeks with a fresh mind and hopefully some new ideas for the podcast. Until next week, I can only wish you a very good week. I hope you will do very strong, good trading, have some good greens into your bank, and we will speak not next week, but in 3 weeks. Bye.